little bit of a different video today. I'm going to be reading out some astral projection stories from Reddit. These are from a variety of people. I don't know if they have astral projected. I mean, I'm just going to read out based on they are saying they've astral projected. These are their stories, basically. By the way, before we get into this, make sure to leave your story in the comments and I'll read them out in the future. So this one is from Zenadiah, and they say, I got sleep paralysis one night falling asleep, so I decided to start meditating, getting ready to leave my body. Suddenly I was able to see the room clearly, and I sat up in my bed and I actually saw myself sleeping from above. I couldn't get my legs out, and suddenly several, shadow figures and demons appeared, and I started chanting in my head, asking for help, and an angel appeared in the room and took the figures away. I felt so loved by this being, and she touched me and turned me into a rotten version of herself. I was terrified. She grabbed my hand and pulled me out of my body, and although after that I was flying 1,000,000 miles an hour through space and time, it looked a bit like a psychedelic wormhole, and it was the fastest I've ever felt in my life. I reached the end of the portal, and I was back in my physical body. I slowly got out of the sleep paralysis and woke up, and it was exhilarating. Partying with pizza. This was 2 years ago. They said, I've been trying to find an explanation for something that I recently experienced, and I believe it was actually astral projection or an out-of-body experience. It was after a major brain surgery. I went to sleep, but I woke up standing in the middle of my bedroom. I saw myself lying in the bed, and I could even see what was on the TV in the room. I was able to walk around the room freely, but I felt a pulling force. Something wanted me to walk in a certain direction, but it felt kind of wrong. I had to fight against this pulling force. Shortly after, I was shocked back into my body, and I woke up. And they think it was a successful out-of-body experience, but they say they're new to this, and if anyone has any answers to let them know, what to do. I find it very common, by the way, that people who have either an operation or a surgery or a near-death experience will have an OBE, and this is because, in theory, when you are just about to die, your body releases a lot of DMT. DMT is linked to the pineal gland, which is also linked to being able to astral project. It's also called your third eye. We don't know exactly how it works, but there is definitely a correlation or a link between those things, between near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, pineal gland, DMT, and just all of those linked together in some way. Another one from Vibe XOX. I awaken in my room in sleep paralysis. The entity is there. I guess the sleep paralysis demon or something. I truly believe the same one is there from before. It has the appearance of a witch with a very detailed face. I try and push it off, and sleep paralysis doesn't feel like you're astral projecting, but you're still in your room. It actually worked, thinking I have awoken, as I have in many other sleep paralysis, and I guess false awakenings as well. But I've never actually been able to stay in that state, so I walk through my cluttered room. Even in the astral projection world, the experience of the room is cluttered. I pick up my tablet to write down the astral projection experience, and just, what had happened just now. All of a sudden my legs start sinking into the floor, and at this point I've lost the astral projection and I'm being pulled back into reality. I then get the feeling that I'm about to wake up, and then I hear a strange laugh. Another one from a user which has been deleted. It was early in the morning when I came close to waking up, and I remember feeling like I've just tumbled out of my body. I was sleeping on my side, but I didn't fall out of the bed. I experienced the tingling sensation that you normally get when you are just about to astral project when you're in the vibrational stage. My sight was a little bit clouded, but I think I could see myself sleeping. Again, this is really common. People report that usually when they first learn how to astral project, they see themselves either from above or from the side as they're sleeping, or as they're sitting there or laying down. I was kind of disoriented at first, but eventually I started to gain lucidity. I was walking through walls and I was walking through everything in my house, but it was pretty dark, and I wanted to go outside, but it was too dark to see. There were stars in the sky, but the stars were kind of a lot brighter than they usually are. I could see further into the universe. It's as if the sky was reflecting the entire universe back to me. Now I'm walking down the road, and eventually during this experience I end up in a store. I mean, I don't know why they're astral projecting into a store. That's kind of boring, but I mean, you can do anything. That's the beauty of it. Eventually I started getting a dry feeling in my throat, and I felt really tired. I can feel something starting to tug me back to where I was sleeping. I might have even seen the bright silver cord as well. I start walking down the road back to my house, and then I wake up with a dry feeling in my throat. Now this is an important one because, as I've said in another video, you need to make sure you're hydrated enough, because when you are astral projecting, firstly you use up a lot of energy, and secondly, if you're dehydrated, it's going to limit your experience. You're going to bring yourself back, to physical reality. Another one from a user called Makeup Loving Mum. My first and only time astral projecting was when I was 20. I had been practicing for over a year to astral project, and I finally did it. I was lying in bed when I left my body, and everything looked like my room, only reality as I thought I knew it was just a fabrication of my mind. And I felt like what I was experiencing was true reality, and it shattered my view of the waking world. This seems a very common thing as well for psychedelics. People tend, especially DMT, people will report that when they first take them, it's almost like the illusion or the hallucination is the real world, and this reality that we're in now is the fake world, or not as real. After realising this, I looked at my body and saw that my eyes were open and looking in the corner of my bedroom. I turned my astral head to the direction my body's eyes were looking, and I sensed an ancient malevolent being of the darkest light I've ever seen. I felt blackness rather than seeing it, and it was the deepest, darkest black. I don't know how else to describe it, other than I knew it was ancient, and I knew it was a really dark thing. I felt its knowing presence looking at me, and it scared me back into my body, and I've never tried to do it since. Does anyone know what it was, or has anyone had anything like this? So firstly, that's quite an unusual experience. Most beginner experiences are not like that. That being said, has anyone had an experience like that? Let me know in the comments. Another astral projection story from Wonka001. I have a few. They aren't the ones where you'd hope to see you exploring or going to some distant place. These are all local, since I haven't done any long explorations and my events are kind of few and far between. I had walking pneumonia and I was feeling quite ill. Not like the fake thing that's going around now, I mean actual pneumonia. Instead of going to lay down in my bed, I fell asleep on the couch. I started to feel a little cold, so I got up, went to the other room and got a blanket. For some reason I couldn't turn the light on, but there seemed to be enough light to find the blanket anyway. I thought I grabbed it, but I woke up later and I didn't have it, and I knew I'd astral projected. So basically, it's a boring experience, boring situation, but they did something in the astral projection that wasn't in real life, so that's how they knew that they were astral projecting. This is another one from the same user. My brother and I decided we were going to try and astral project together. We wanted to see if we could actually see and meet each other. So we went to an area where there was a pool table between us, in between them, and you couldn't see past the pool table because the base was solid. So it was one of those ones without the legs where it's like the whole thing goes straight down to the floor, so you can't see underneath it. After several minutes, I sat up and looked to my left through the pool table. I saw him sitting up, looking over at me, and it startled me back into my body, and I woke up in real life. My brother also woke up at the same time. I asked him if he saw me sit up, and he said he did. Number 3, from the same user again. So the last one reminded me of another time. I was at work and I went to an area where I wouldn't be found to take a short nap because I'm tired. We've all been there. I laid back and relaxed, and instead of falling asleep, I found myself starting to leave my body, but in front of me there was an orb of energy. I reached out and grabbed something on the orb, almost like handlebars on a bike, and it started pulling me up. That action scared me a bit, so I let go and got pulled back into my body. Now, this is a very interesting variation of what you call the bar technique or the rope technique. Any astral projection technique really is based on getting your astral body, of course, to leave your physical body. However, what I find is the most effective is one that you can visualize most easily. So in this case, imagine grabbing the handlebars on a bike. Maybe he uses a bike a lot. However, if you drive very often, you can actually imagine grabbing a steering wheel and using that to pull you up. Anything you can visualize grabbing without really thinking about it is going to be what you should use to sort of visualize yourself pulling yourself out of your body. Another story from user Athrengada. This was 2 years ago. It was probably the time I went to a space station. I was floating around in space in the astral realm, and I came across thousands of Stonehenge-shaped stones, and they all spun around like gears until they reached a certain geometry, and then they would just stop and explode with colour. Once I saw the colour explosion, I was teleported to a new place in space, but in this location, it looked kind of like a spaceport or a space hub of some kind. There were ships floating around to different ends of the hub, and it looked like kind of like a checkpoint, where all of the ships wanting to get in had to go up to the certain section in the hub, almost like a traffic checkpoint, right? I then got a glimpse of a blue-skinned, white-haired alien of some kind. Once I saw it, I got spotted by 2 ships that started to come towards me, and I basically just decided to come back to my body. I freaked out. Really common, by the way, that you will at some point meet extraterrestrials or aliens, what we call aliens. I mean, they probably call us aliens in the astral realm, so don't be worried about that. If you have any astral projection stories, please leave them in the comments. I will try and read them out in my next few weeks or in a video at some point in the future. One very quick thing about the scary sounding stories. I wanted to read to give you an idea of what you could experience in any situation in astral projection. So don't be worried or scared if that sounds like a weird experience or it's going to freak you out, because it's very unlikely that will happen to you. For most people who try astral projection for the first time, it's a positive experience. It's very unlikely you will have an experience as scary as those people. So give it a try and see what you think.